All right. Good evening, good afternoon, everyone, and happy Sunday. Welcome to another session of learning. Yeah. So I'll just jump right into um, it today. I hope you guys can hear me. Let me just confirm. Hello.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, I
All right.
can.
You're welcome, y'all. We started out our cloud computing journey yesterday, and then we started out with some uh, uh, theoretical things. Uh, I hope with all of the things that we did yesterday, or we talked about yesterday, um, we are in a way stirred up and prepared to learn, um, cloud computing. We will be continuing from where we stopped yesterday. I'll just walk us through the things we talked about yesterday, like as a form of recap. We delved into what cloud computing is, talked about the different cloud deployment modules, private, public, and the rest. And then we talked about the different types of cloud services, classification, many as a service, X as a service, but we only looked at the three popular ones, the um, infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. So the ability to differentiate all of these different services would actually help in determining which of the service offerings, um, depending on cloud provider that you will be working with, you use as part of your architecture. And we briefly looked at the three top cloud providers, albeit we will be focusing on AWS for this module. We spent some time also to talk about some career paths, that's the knowledge of cloud computing actually offers, and so that we have like a faint idea of we'll start planning for each of the roles we want to go to. Yeah. So today we would begin by taking a tour of AWS, and then we'll explore the console. We'll talk about AWS very, very briefly, look at their global infrastructure. I think there are some few terminologies or some few things that we need to get ourselves accustomed to that we will be coming across every time we use AWS now. And just in a way, I know we have been introduced to AWS already, but albeit on the surface level. So now we want to look at them, in a want to start diving deep into what AWS or who AWS is. And then we look at some of the services that they offer, all of the services that they offer, from sorry, bedside view. Yeah. Then the meat of today's session is going to be around setting up our AWS for proper use. Yeah. And in the course of this, we'll be looking at a few services, IAM, CloudWatch, CloudTrail, S3, SNS. Yeah. So it's going to be kind of hands-on, and this is necessary so that because your um, usage of in the cloud you need to have not total control, but some form of control. And if you don't, set yourself up properly, whether as an individual or as an organization, we'll both be looking at it from both standpoints. Um, the pointers I'll be giving pointers on. Okay, yeah, if you were setting this up for an organization, these are the things that you need to put in place, looking at it from different perspective, mostly from the security standpoint, and then from the cost optimization standpoint. So those are the things that we would be spending our time on today, because moving forward, well, again, we'll be introduced to a few services already. So this is already part of, so for every hands-on session, you guys will see we'll be using a few services together. Again, there is no service that sits or in isolation. So we'll see that very soon in AWS. So and the goal of my goal really is not that you just, okay, yes, in AWS, I know how to use, say, the RDS service, and then that's the only thing I know how to use. Whereas you can't use RDS alone. You need to be able to use RDS with either your Elastic Cache or your SQS and a few other services. So it's when we use them together, that's when it makes more sense. And then again, when you guys start going out to interviews, you're able to tell hiring managers these are the things I've deployed, while in the cloud. Then we would learn how to deploy Bootstrap, deploying albeit a static, website. Yeah. All right. I hope you guys are prepared to be bombarded with a lot of terminologies. Yeah. I stopped sharing. Why? Okay, so like I said, we would first and foremost be uh, exploring AWS. So I have, well, with time, yeah, you guys would learn to know that the best place to get first-hand information um, for or of whatever tool that you'll be using, moving forward, both in the cloud and even from, the AWS, whatever cloud provider standpoint is, from that cloud provider. Obviously, for even for every machinery or tool now, that one gets, if you purchase, machinery now, and then you decide you want to assemble it without looking at the manual. You probably put A in K, and then so to understand AWS, I think I'd allow AWS tell us about themselves. So what in a few minutes, I just want us to understand to understand the global infrastructure. We've talked about who AWS is, their cloud provider, and the leading cloud provider. So I want us to quickly take a look at the global infrastructure and do global infrastructure. Yeah, that AWS, offers all of the, and then we will see some few terminologies that, AWS um, well, okay, yeah, is a, I think it cuts across all of the cloud providers, but again, we are focused on AWS now. So again, they are saying that they are the most secure and extensive and reliable. They have the most secure global infrastructure for all of your application needs. Yeah, so AWS has their global infrastructure, as we can see in this picture now, is they have presence in literally every continent, even in you know the okay, this is Australia, and then this very separated island here. They have there is a point of presence in here. So wherever um, whatever your infrastructural need as an individual or an organization, just know that AWS, they have you covered. They have what we call regions. Regions are basically so all of each of these places now, this point that we see is a region. So a region is basically a physical location now, located around the world. Yeah, I said different parts of the world. We have different regions. Yeah, and in each of these regions, there are clusters of data center. Yeah, we talked about data centers yesterday, and I hope you guys have, for those that have not been seen one physically, if you do a Google search, you would see what a data center looks like. Albeit the data centers for AWS, they are really, really massive ones. Yeah. So um, then inside, like I said, there are clusters of data centers in each region, and then we now data centers are now logically grouped again, uh, and then they are called availability zones. So there are 33 regions, each with multiple availability zones, and then 105 availability zones globally. So this means that, again, wherever you want to deploy your infrastructure, you can actually do this. And again, an availability zone is one or more data centers. So different regions have different availability zones, and then those availability zones are like data centers, I would say. You know, each of them having their own redundant power, networking, connectivity. Basically, the ability zone gives users the ability to operate um, different, like have their own access. They have access to their custom kind of infrastructure. Yeah. So there are a few other, so we have point of presence, edge locations. Those are like mini data centers also, which are again in a bid to make infrastructure provisioning much easier, depending on the user's need. Yeah. So we'll be hearing regions, ability zones a lot. We'll be using them, because that's going to be, when we start coming up with our own um, architectures now. Those are the things that would make the hearts of every architecture that we will be drawing. Yeah. So with that out of the way, okay, and also I would like to point out that for each region now, uh, um, the services that is available to different regions actually vary. So that is dependent on the size of, um, the cluster now, the amount of clusters that are in that region, or the amount of ability zones if you want to have it. Um, yeah. So we'll still see more of this later. So I'm going to come in and sign into my AWS account. I'm sure all of this is still very familiar with you guys. I know for most of us now, we're still signing in with our root account. So those are the things that we will be considering, as part of this session. Uh, So this is the AWS console. Quite a lot um, going on in here, but I would just want to first point out all of the services that AWS, they are offering us. To come to all services and view all services. And I keep saying this, and I will keep saying it, that I don't think there is one person that can actually learn all of these services. They have over 200 services in here, and they have all been grouped into different categories now. Under compute, we have all of the services. For container grouping, we have all of this. For management and governance, depending on, what you want to actually do in the cloud, whatever your IT need. Yeah, if you want out of the box, um, messaging service, you have that, as part of application integration. If it's business applications that you're looking for, you have that also. And even down to, have so much machine learning services now. I think earlier this year, they were very, very few. But now, because the world is, really embracing artificial intelligence and, machine learning, they focused more of their time in there. So even down to quantum technologies, yeah, there is a service available. That's why I keep saying that just one person to learn all of this, literally impossible, because for each of the services, you now have a group of engineers that are working to make that available. So you must probably be a robot if you think, or if you want to take it upon yourself to learn all of these things. I have been trying for years to see if I can take as much as possible, and even just one service, because of how ever changing the IT space is. Something you have learned. By the time you go back to it, everything has changed, and then new features have been added, and you have to unlearn and then relearn how to do all of these things. So all of these services, but we will be, like I said, if we say we want to start taking these services one after the other, it's going to be overwhelming. So for the project-based approach that we will be using. So we will be taking services from we, take a service from compute category, and then we link it up with a service from database, from storage, from networking, and we'll just speak different services like that again, so that, because again, there's no service that's would work in isolation. They all have to either be sitting inside of, a virtual custom networking environment, or what have you. Yeah, so that's the approach that we will be taking, and then hopefully we are able to cover much enough services, at least, well, all of the ones that would prepare you guys for for the coming modules, IAC, and then all the service that you probably be using as part of your day-to-day role, even as a DevOps engineer. Yeah. All right. I hope you guys are still with me.
Yeah, we are with you.
Thank you. Okay, so first and foremost, so I know most of us are signed in, with using our roots account, and that's is not ideal. Is not best
Most of us
practice.
actually sign in with user though.
So what you say?
I think most of us actually sign in with user accounts.
Yes, and that's so we would be talking
Not root.
with your email, with the email account that the email
No, no,
address you
not
use.
root. No,
Yeah.
not root. We created a user account apart from the root account.
Oh,
Most of
okay.
us, yes. But you
Wonderful.
can still go ahead though.
Okay, that's no problem. Uh, Again, like I said, we would be learning on how to um, manage our AWS accounts from the organizational standpoint, and as an individual also. So typically in AWS, there are different kinds of users. Yeah. Yeah. So we have the root user, which is okay. We have three different, I'll say, three types of principals now. Yeah. Let me use principal. That's the right lingo. So principal basically is an entity. So I said we would be, as we are learning to use the AWS, service, provider now. Uh, uh, I'll be touching on a few service. Yeah. So there is the IAM service. It's IAM here. Management service, no security, I think. So we can, again, if this can really get overwhelming, and the best way I think to always look for services is to use the search bar in here. So I want to search for IAM. So I know it's the security service though.
It's under security, identity, and compliance.
Okay, yes, security, identity, and compliance. Yeah, so IAM is a security, identity, and compliance service, that you use in administering your AWS account. Yeah, so again, there are three different types of principal now. That's and the principal again is an entity that's is allowed to interact with the different AWS resources. Yeah, so uh, when you create your AWS accounts, the email that you use in signing up, that's is one of the principals now, and that is the root user. And that root user has complete access to all of the AWS, services and resources. And again, is a permanent principal kind of, because it has full privilege to do anything in your account. Including closing the account. So it is strongly recommended that you do not use that root user for everyday task. Yeah. Instead, just use it to create administrator account, and then this root account should be secured with, you should add an extra layer of security around this account, because anybody can get access to your username and password, because there are different ways, to actually authenticate with a principal, either you use your username and password, your access key, or we have what we call session token. Yeah, but for your root user, yeah, you always want to have not even just your root user, and every user, depending on what permission they have, you want to always have an extra layer of security. And AWS offers us um, uh, a multi-factor authenticating feature now that we can use to secure our root user. So the moment I came into this IAM service now, I could see that I have the option. It's like a warning now. In fact, it's a security recommendation to add MFA for my root user. Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and just quickly add this. Since you guys already have been introduced to this apparently, maybe from the introductory session. Yeah, so I'm going to add, for those that have not done this, you probably want to do it, just to add that extra layer of security around your boot user. So I'm going to give this device a name. Just going to call it mobile root. Mobile is fine. So there are different devices that can be used for multi-factor authentication. Yeah, you could use a passkey or a security key, an authenticator app, or an hardware token. Yeah, yeah. So the first and the last one here requires, a physical device. So I would be advising that we use the authenticator app. Yeah, which is much virtual, yeah, and it's readily available whenever we need, yeah, compared to the hardware token and then the pass key, security key that require that you go get an extra pair of device now. So I'll be using the Microsoft Authenticator app to add an extra layer of security around this my own account, root account. So I have the Microsoft app, Authenticator app already installed. For this, all you need is, you still need a smartphone to, have the app. So I have an Authenticator app on my phone, and I'll be using this. We'll click on next, and then I'll show QR code. Yeah, then from my Authenticator app, I'm just going to scan this code now. Yeah, for those that have not used Authenticator apps before, do let me know. After scanning this, the Authenticator app would generate, 6-digit one-time password for you, which you would put in here. After adding the first one, you wait for the countdown to go down, and then it would display another one-time password. And once you put both, I'm going to click on add MFA, and that's straightforward. With that, I've added an extra layer of security around my root account. So if peradventure someone gets my username and password, they still need to come get my phone and then authenticate with that. If I sign out of this account and then try to sign in back, I should be required, after putting in my username and password, still need to add one-time password that gets generated from whatever authenticator app that's you have set up. There are different types of authenticator apps that can be downloaded from depending on what operating system you have on your phone. Yeah. So I hope that is pretty straightforward. Or is there anybody that probably has not done that? I guess I have
with you.
All right, cool. Thank you. So moving on, after securing this, so there are a few other things that you want to do. Again, like I said, we will be looking at this from both the organizational, standpoint. Now, for individual users, this next option, you probably do not want to set up. Yeah, Henry, I see your hands up.
Yes. So, question. So, if you want to create several accounts, say for instance, you want to create like 10 AWS accounts, and then is there a way to automate the process of creating the account and adding MFA at the same time?
No, I don't think that can be automated.
Okay, so it has to be
After setting up the accounts, for you to set up MFA, you need to actually be connect. You have to sign into the account first.
Got it. Okay, so the recommendation would be to create the account and share the credentials to the account owners or account users, and then have them add the extra layer, right? MFA.
So the root user is not a credentials that you want to share with.
No, I'm talking about the users. So I know that like as an admin, right? Let me say you're the primary administrator of AWS in your organization, right? And you want to create 10 AWS accounts for new users, right? Exactly, yes.
Yeah.
So the recommendation would be create the account and share the credentials with them, and then have them add, maybe change their password and then add that extra layer, right?
Yes. So yeah, MFA is going to be prerogative of each IAM user now that is created. Yeah. So as the admin, you don't have access to even their MFA. Even their password, it's usually advised that each user changes his password, even if after the admin has set up that user account. Yeah, we're going to set up an account here. Okay, again, you guys have already set up accounts, so that's just I'm still going to set up an account for myself though. All right, so like I said, this next part is from an organizational standpoint. For every user that gets created, I think it's always right to have every organization have policies on how users can both authenticate with their management console. Password policies is a way to kind of build organization around, how users use this. So the password policy part here, I'm going to go ahead and, so by default, AWS record, gives all of this default for us. The password never expires, must not be identical to your AWS account, name or email address. The password must have a minimum of 3 of the following: uppercase, lowercase, and all of these things. So you can add a custom policy to have a minimum length of password, and you can set the complexity as probably the organization seems fit. This is just to again enforce some kind of usage now of passwords. Users can be very, very funny. Yeah, so you want to make sure that they don't just use passwords that can be guessed and then hacked and then putting your organization's resources at risk. Yeah, so I'm going to check all of this. And then when turn on password expiry, usually you want users to be able to rotate their password after every 3 months. I think that's kind of standard. And all of these things, again, this is at the prerogative of the manager, the administrator of the account of the AWS account, and also probably organizational policies now. Yeah, so password expiry requires administrative resets, not necessary. You can just allow users to change their password and then prevent password reuse after, say, 2 or 3 needs. So this is basically saying if you use a password now, you can't use that same password when your password expires. You must use another password, and you can't use the same password after maybe after 2 using that password. You can't use it after changing twice, basically.
So basically, the setting you have right now is if someone changes their password, let me say they have password 123, for instance, and they change the password to password 256.
Yeah.
The system is only going to remember 123 and 256.
Yes.
If they change to a new password and then they want to use 123 again, it's going to allow them because you said 2, correct?
So if after 90 days, password 123 expires, I can use password 234. So when subsequently for the 3rd time now, I can switch back to password 123 since I already used for the next time. So just
got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Please, can you come again? I didn't get that.
I think I have possibly a different view about that.
Okay.
This remember to password. I think from my understanding on this is that if I use password 123 and I for the first 90 days and the second 90 days I use password 256, right? At the 3rd 90 days, I still cannot use password 123, the first one, because it has not fully aligned with this remember to password. It has remembered the first 2 password, which is 123 and 256. At the 3rd time when you remember it, it's still remembering the two passwords. I think it's at the
third.
my own thought.
Yes, that's correct. That is correct.
I
Yeah,
think it
that's
should be
my
at the first
understanding.
attempt. You should be
That's my
able to
understanding as well.
use.
Makes sense.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I stand
Then
correct.
there's also something I notice. I know organizations do, especially on this password policy, right? At that very first instance where possibly a new user joined and an account is being created, or whatever reason, for any reason, maybe the admin is setting the password. There's this feature that said password must be changed at next logon.
Yeah, that's at the point where
Like-
you're creating the user. We have that option also here.
Yeah. So whether the user likes it or not, the password must be changed. You just cannot go in with that default password that was given to you.
There are policies set by company's administrator that, apart from setting up your password, that also prompt you to set up your MFA using either the Microsoft Authenticator or whichever authenticator you want to use, which makes it like more secure.
Yes.
Just like the way Moyo has explained before.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Blaze, for correcting me on this. Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and set this password policy, and this change takes effect almost immediately. So for every new principal or IAM user that's would get created, this will apply almost immediately to them. Yeah. All right. So while I'm still in this root user, there are a few other things that I would want to quickly point to. So from the dashboard here, okay, when I want to create the user, I would set that. So ordinarily, the administrators, well, so even if you create an IAM user is another type of, so I mentioned we have three types of principals. Yeah, the root user, which is what I'm currently logged in, and we have IAM users. These are well, users again, entities that have persistent kind of identities that represent mostly individual people. Yeah, you can also have it, you can have applications, have, IAM kind of principal credentials also. Just shedding more light on the IAM users. It's not a separate account now. They're just users within your original AWS account. So by default, I think I'll just go ahead and create my account now. By default, I'm just going to create a user, and I'm going to log in as. There are three ways that one can actually interact with the suite of AWS services. You have the management console, which is one of the ways, that's like the, I want to say the easiest way, kind of. Yeah, so while creating the user, you can specify what access the way in which that user can interact with AWS. So for this, you have a button here to provide with management console. We're not going to talk. Identity Center is another service entirely that holds a set of. So I'm not going to talk about that for now. So I want to just create an IAM user. I think what Bliss was talking about is in this part where you can allow users to create a new password, after signing. Again, these are some organizational policy standards now. So for my user here, it's my user, so I will just create a custom password. I won't auto generate the password. And I do not want to change the new password when I'm signing in. Yeah, but for an organization, you probably, as an admin, you probably want to also generate the password and allow them change their password on signing in. So this is the part where you give, you set permissions for the user. So AWS recommend there is the lists privilege rule. Yeah, so you only give the right amount of permission depending on, the user's role in the organization. So for if you have, say, a customer care team now, so you only want to give them probably read-only permissions to the different services. They probably, have to they need to use maybe to read and then to get to have they need to have access to. Yeah, so we have a bunch of out of the box permissions, that AWS actually provides, or um, um, you can also create, so we use policies now to define permissions. So we'll talk about policies in a bit. Policies are, yeah, JSON documents, that we use in defining a set of permissions. We can both use it to manipulate AWS resources. It can be applied to both users, group, and roles. I've not talked about roles though. Um, but AWS recommends that, while you're creating a user, add the user to the group, which is customary. So if you have a bunch of users, I know most of these things, some of these things now, some of us are already familiar with, but there's still, folks around us that are still not very familiar with all those things. So you bear with me while I try to carry everybody along. We already discussed this, I think, in our, so this is kind of familiar, is can be compared to users groups that we talked about in our Linux administration part. So you, after creating a user, you can add to a group, or you can just create the user without adding it to a group. You can copy permissions from an existing users, or you can attach policies directly to a user. For this, my user now, I can decide to give it there. So these are the different, policies that come out of the box. There are over 1,000, there are 1,246 policies that you can attach to a new user. But if you want to give, say, a custom kind of permission to this user, you have the option to create policy now, and then you'd have to understand JSON to be able to do this. I won't take that route now. It's taking forever to load. So I'm just going to make this user. So I want to have this user as an admin. So I'm going to give this user administrative access, and then go on, and I'm going to create this user.
What about the contributor?
Pardon?
What about the contributor?
So administrator actually has all of that. It's like it's a pseudo kind of user. So depending on, you can decide to give different users different permissions. So here you can email the instructions to the user from this console also, but it's always advisable to download the CSV because this is the one time you don't have access to all of this. Again, we only have 3 things in here anyway, so I'm going to return to the user list saying I didn't download that credentials. I said, yeah, I know that. Yeah, so I have this user created. So if this user is going to sign in, even if it's going to sign in now to the console, so I found this really useful. Okay, I don't know if you guys noticed, there was the sign-in URL, which is also here. I can also get it from here. With this, if I copy this now, this will take me to the sign-in page for this. But this URL contains the account ID of, this organization, of this AWS accounts now, and this can, in a way, pose to be a challenge, especially when users have to sign in over and over. It means they have to remember this account ID. So let me even copy this now. Oh yeah, let me open up incognito window so I can use this to try to sign in. So when this user wants to sign in, this account number is here, but peradventure the user forgets this account number, and obviously if it is not something that you want to always remember. So we have the option to create an alias now that's makes it much easier now for users to a more meaningful kind of name. We talked about alias also during our Linux session there, albeit it's kind of different here. For alias here, it's just a way to mask our account number now. So we have the option to create alias here, depending on the organization or as an individual, just to make life easy for yourself. So we can create an alias. I'm going to create an alias. And with this, my sign-in URL changes. And when I want to sign in now, if I can just use that in here instead of that long account 12-digit account number. Yeah, so that has been set. Again, I think this is a very, very handy feature. Yeah, so also because signing in as your root user is discouraged, and there was an organization that I administered their AWS account, and I was supposed to help. Well, I got a task of what's this thing now? I was told to see why the AWS bill, was kind of fluctuating. They were getting unnecessary bill, and I was an administrator. But when I signed into my account and I tried, let me sign into my account now. I tried to go to the costs, the AWS billing, and I didn't have access. I was like, how come I'm supposed to be an administrator? I should have, some extended power just to even view the bills. I didn't have access, so I don't know why AWS allowed this or did it that way. That is only the root user now that can actually go to billing and cost. I don't know if that has been changed now, but I think this is, as an administrator, ordinarily you should be able to administer, check, the organization's bill and what have you. But by default, I should please pardon my network. It's not fair. Okay. No. Oh, it's not good. So it's saying access denied. I don't have any access. So with this, I cannot really, manage the organization's billing. So there is, from the root account, you can actually enable that's, because again, to discourage having to sign into your root account at all times. Yeah. So, and then I think managing the bills is something that should be delegated also. And so to make to enable administrators now, those that have administrator access now, the ability to manage bills, we can enable that. And from the root account now, we can't do that. I think it's in account of security credentials. I think it's in account. Yeah. Yeah. So by default, you have not all regions now is enabled in your AWS account. You can decide to enable and disable region as you seem fit. So the option I'm coming to now is IAM user and role access to billing information. By default, this is deactivated. So I'm going to come here and then I'm going to activate IAM access. This would grant, well, administrative asset, or those that have the administrative permission now to both access billing information. Again, which I think is a good option. So with this setup now, if I come to my user, right now, let's hit a refresh. Should have access to this now. Now I see that I have access to the billing and what have you. And while we are here also, there is an option. So out of the, by default, AWS does not. So you can see all of your, the different services now that the organization is using, and see what service is, and then the region and what have you. So there was a time I had to, again, aggregate the AWS spend, and I was thinking there should be, like, I could get, like, because I needed to compare bills different months. So I thought I could just download a PDF kind of version of this, but unfortunately, I didn't get. And so AWS also decided they don't want to send PDF versions of your bill directly to you. So they have that also disabled. So if I come to billing, payment preference now, billing preference. So PDF invoice, delivered by email is deactivated. So I think this is an option that every organization should have, in place. Should receive PDF versions of your bill. Yeah. So what they send is they just tell you, you're being charged, your account is being charged. So you always want to activate this PDF delivered by email. So if you need to do an audit of your account, you can always have versions of this. While we're here also, we'll be talking about CloudWatch, setting up like an alert now, around your accounts, so that if you provision resources now, and then you forget to terminate, can always be notified, when you go over a certain threshold. By default, you do not have this CloudWatch billing alerts option, set. So it's a one-time thing. You only enable it once. So you want to enable it so that you can have CloudWatch send alerts to you. So again, you enable this. I think you can actually do this from the IAM user as long as there is administrative access. Yeah. So you want to do this. We're going to set up a billing alert in a minute now. All right. So I think I have all that we probably need to do from this root user has been set up already. Yeah. And ordinarily too from, okay, this is my, okay, yeah, you can actually do this from, yeah, from the administrator account. So I'm not going to bother setting up MFA on this, my administrator account, because I know I'll be signing in regularly, and I'm too lazy to be opening up so this is not best practice. You should always have an extra layer of security. All right. Okay. I think I can actually. Okay, fine. Okay, let me briefly talk about rules also. I mentioned that there are three principles, root user IAM, and then rules, which is like a temporary security token. So rules are used to grant specific privilege to set of maybe AWS service for a set duration of time. So all of these AWS services, they are isolated, even though they need to work together. And for two services to be able to communicate, they need to have the right permission. So it's roles you basically use to allow different AWS services to talk to themselves, without any issue. So for example, using an IAM role for an EC2 instance now to be able to write to, say, an S3 bucket, yeah, and other AWS services like that, for them to be able to do stuffs, amongst themselves. A rules is, that's principle that allows that's kind of interaction amongst the AWS resources, and then it grants you use it basically to grant temporary security token. That service would use, will assume that will do whatever it needs to do, and then that token is kind of revoked until when next it needs to perform any operation. Yeah, so I'm just going to. So if you guys have any question, please do not hesitate to call me back and then ask. So I am done with, I'll be focusing on this user now. Okay, I can actually use this to create all of this. So I would be setting up CloudTrail. CloudTrail is another service in AWS. We use CloudTrail to track user activity and API usage. Okay, before I set up CloudTrail, I mentioned there are three ways in which we can access AWS services. We have in a way now we've configured the management console. There is the second way, which is using the AWS CLI. So for those that are command gurus now, say you rather prefer to use command to administer your AWS account, we have the CLI option now to use to do, use the set of AWS services or resources that we have. Yeah, and from any terminal, from your local, from a virtual machine, anywhere. Yeah, you can.
Sorry, I think I missed that. How did you launch this console?
This is my terminal. This is my
Okay.
terminal on my local.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Okay.
for Windows users, you have PowerShell or the CMD command CMD terminal. Yeah, so to use to interact with using the CLI, you need to have the AWS CLI installed on your local machine. And to do that, all you need to do is do AWS CLI download, and then yeah, that's option. Yes, from the documentation, you see you have installed or updated the latest version of the AWS CLI. And depending on your operating system, you have installation steps in here. So I'm just going to, for those that are not aware of this, I'm going to give you a minute to quickly do the installation. This is me assuming that you guys are following along with all that I'm doing. I have it installed already. So if I run an AWS -- version, I should see the version of the CLI that I have installed. Yeah, so there is the version 1 and the version 2, but I think the version 1 is being phased out. Yeah, so AWS is saying you can migrate to version 2. Yeah, so it's always I don't even think you would have the option to install the version 1. Again, this would just let you do stuffs in AWS, interact with the AWS services. Yeah, so but that would not happen out of the box. You still need to authenticate with, aside downloading the AWS CLI, you still need to kind of authenticate. And each principal has I mentioned there are 3 ways that a principal can authenticate. Well, it's the username and password, or with an access key, access key, which is can be generated. It's a combination. Access key is a combination of access key ID, and then we have the AWS secret key. Yeah. So this mostly is used by IAM, an IAM entity, an application now, not just an IAM user. Your users can have secret and access key, and then we generate that from the IAM console. So I'm going to go to my user now, and then I'm going to generate an access key. Right now, if I try to run any AWS account, AWS CLI command. So let me say I want to list users. So most of the commands is always AWS is the command, and then depending on the service you want to interact with, you put that service, and then services have a set of commands. Again, all of these things, there are documentations that you can consult, and there are help files also that you can use to list. Is AWS help? We have Yes, so for each service, we have a bunch of sub commands that we can use depending on what you want to do. If this is not very descriptive, you can go to AWS documentation, CLI documentation, and then see the proper usage of every command. So I know I can list from my IAM, sorry, or my IAM, I can actually list users. Hope that is correct. Okay, yeah, so this is actually expected. There is, I don't have a security token actually configured, on my local machine. And so for me to do this, I come to my user and I can generate, so I come to security credentials here, and then I can create access key. I mentioned access keys, a combination of access key ID and secret key. So I'll say I want to create a CLI, and I understand AWS is recommending that you use the Cloud Shell instead of generating this. So I'm going to go ahead and just create. And so I'm going to get an access key and a secret access key here. Again, I can go ahead and download this, which is always a good practice. So with this generated now, I can come back to my terminal and I run the AWS configure command. Can also, if I have multiple profiles now on my machine, but again, let's complicate things. So I'm just going to do AWS configure, and then this would request for access key ID. This is it here. This is the access key ID. I copy that and I'm going to paste that in here. And also the secret access key. I copy this also. This is just like your username and password, so it should be guarded as much as possible. But again, for this demonstration, you guys have access to all of this, and I'll change this afterwards. So you want to set the default region where resources now would be provisioned while you use the CLI. So I'm going to do a US based tool as the region I want to choose. And then the default outputs, this could be either YAML.
What do you mean? What do you mean default region when provisioning on the CLI? I thought like upon using the CLI or using like Bash, you have to like select the region, like put in the region you are trying to create a compute resource or a containerized resource on.
Yeah, what this is saying is, so just like you have in your in your console now, say I want to go to my EC2 service now,
Yeah.
and I want to create, say I want to launch an instance now in AWS now. So I could choose either any region here to provision resources. I think I mentioned that some services are region specific. So if I launch an instance in Ohio now, if I go to the London region, I would not see that instance I launched in London. So that's exactly what just mentioned.
So what you mean is that when you select a region, like maybe let me say not UK or something, not London. Mm-hmm. So whatever your position using the CLI, it has to always go to not London. Exactly. So that means you can like change it on the point of like creation of the.
Yes, you can. So at the point of running, so depending on the service that you want to provision now, you probably you have an option to select what's, but again, that's an extra. If by the time you start writing CLI commands to use, it can be a handful if you are using the CLI to say, when you want to provision an EC2 instance, say from CLI from the command, look at all of the options now that you have to check. All of these things you have to include inside of your commands as you're trying to provision so now adding region to it is an extra step. So yeah, you can always add it to it.
Okay, because I know that AWS is complicated.
Yes, so that's why you want to, while setting up your profile now, you want to choose. I think it's always wise, especially when you're learning how to stick to a region now to put in all of your resources. Yeah, so you don't mix things up. I keep saying this when I was learning. The fact that I could spin up servers in any part of the world, I just went wild, and I was just provisioning launch, and it was Microsoft Windows machine I was provisioning, which is way more expensive than even the Linux one now. Then connect to it, I'll be like, so I am literally in Asia now. I don't terminate, I go to another region. I thought I could, because when I switch another region, I just assume, okay, AWS will help me handle all of those. I lie. It just kept, accumulating. At the end of the month, you get a bill that hundreds of dollars. How? Why? What happened? Yeah. So you want to always stick to a region, and usually, well, if your organization has global presence around, you know those regions that you have infrastructure in, and then also from your bill. Yeah. I don't know if you guys, when I went to the bill, you can actually see. And I think that's a good place to actually, if you notice any kind of unnecessary thing bill coming in, you go to your, cost explorer, and then from there you can see which service that is provisioned in what region now, and then you can easily go ahead and terminate that service.
Yeah. Hello, Moyo.
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry. I don't know. Possibly, maybe I'm dragging back, but I think I really do not get clarity more when you talking about this access key and the rest. I just want to know, possibly in simple terms, this access key, what is the importance? What is for?
Is a way you authenticate from a terminal now, and then so you have access to manage AWS resources right from the terminal. All the things that we can do. So I can come to, I can come to IAM now. This is like the most basic now, and I can look at all of the users that I have inside, from the dashboard here. So on my local machine now, this is my local terminal. Yeah, I also want to do the same thing. Yeah. So when I tried it earlier, because I've not configured the access key and the secret access key now, I tried running, where is that command? IAM lists users, which is what I did from my management console. I just went to the IAM service, and I clicked on users, and then it brought out all of the users. So if I want to do the same thing here, I ordinarily, because there's no way my local machine can, just talk to AWS like that. And what's AWS account am I trying to even, list the users from? So this will tell me I don't have, because I had a previous security token there. So it's saying the security token is invalid. Yeah. So I went to my IAM user, I generated a new access key, yeah, from the terminal here, and then I ran the AWS configure command, which would now give you all of this prompt to put in your access key. So this is like kind of synonymous to signing into your AWS account from the console, from the browser now, your username and your password. So your user access key is again, and then the secret key is just a way to tell AWS, okay, yeah, I am legit. I have access to the AWS. I want to have access to the AWS platform. And then you set up a few other things, the region that you want, and then the output of what to be displayed on the terminal here. And before you can actually run the AWS command, configure command, you must have the AWS CLI installed on your local machine. You run.
Yeah.
Are you
so
up to
this Yeah, I get that. Then I think I understand now. So the output formats, are there other output formats?
Yes,
Because I
you
could
can have
see.
you can have
JSON as
YAML
well.
or JSON. Yeah, yeah, you can have YAML or JSON. Those are so those these
Yeah.
four are the four things. So if I go ahead and run list users again, I should be able to see all of the users that I have in my AWS account. And the same way you can list users, you can create EC2 instances, you can even deploy applications to an AKS cluster. Anyway, whatever it is that you can do from the management console, you can do from the CLI. I think I did a demonstration of this during the Linux session where I created a directory on my local machine using the command line, just the same way, the same way you can right click on your local machine and create a directory. So anything you can actually do here, and I think I've even discovered that you can even do more, from the CLI. I'm going to just leave you guys to go and find out. So if I create a user now and then try to change the user name. So create a user, try to change the username from the management console, and let me know if that is actually possible. I'm not going to demonstrate that here, but I know it's not possible. So for little things like that, you probably, CLI with the CLI, you have more flexibility, kind of, interacting with AWS. Yeah, because you're talking to the APIs directly. There's no extra layer of GUI in there. So you have more access.
So the account you actually use to retrieve these users is an admin, right?
Yes, as an administrator.
And that's the reason why you're able to retrieve these users.
Yes, yeah.
Because I'm thinking if you have like a regular user that doesn't have the administrator role assigned to it, and
So
if
the user has IAM, say full access, should be able to list users there. So depending on that user's role, that's what that's the access, the services that user would have access to.
Again, I'm just gonna ask this question. So if an average user want to be able to run CLI command, is this something that has to be generated for each user for them to configure it, or something that can be automated?
And so I had to log into that user's account to create the access key.
Okay.
So the administrator will not do that for you, just the way the
Okay.
administrator must, create an MFA
Okay.
for each user. Yeah. So
Okay. I did it with one of my users. I logged in as the administrator, which is like the root user, and went to IAM, went to the actual user, and I generated that the security the access keys for that user, and I was able to sign in using Git Bash, and I retrieved the users.
So with your administrative user, you can just the same way you can create a user. Administrators can assign access key, but I don't know why the administrator will want to do that. Maybe for some nefarious reasons.
Yeah. I didn't just want to jump. I didn't want to switch the user. So that was what I was thinking. That is this something that every user can do?
Yes.
Or it is based on their access. So like if you create a user for someone and the user doesn't have admin role assigned to him or her, and they try to access AWS from CLI. Is that something that they can do themselves, log into this console and generate an access key and do all this stuff that we just demoed?
Yeah, so every user ordinarily can generate an access key, but what service you can now interact with, just like as long as you have that console access, you can log into the console. But if you don't have access to a specific service, once you click on the service, it will tell you access denied, or you cannot you cannot interact with this service. The same way also with the access key, as long as well, for the user to generate an access key must have console. So for most organization is either you have access to the console, or it just generates an access key for you. The administrator generates an access key for you, and then you run the organizations that are kind of CLI compliant, especially when we now have to say you are running infrastructure as code now. You don't have any reason to want to interact with the console. So all everything you're provisioning, you're doing using code. For that kind of access now, you only get an access key and a secret access key, and then your what you can provision now determined by the policy that is attached to say that user. Yeah. Are you okay? All right. Again, this is one other way, and then we have the SDK, which is a bit more developer centric. So SDK is the software development kit. So you can say you are your organization is developing an application that needs to communicate with, say, an AWS service. So you can use the SDK as part of this. This is more developer centric, just the way you have dependencies. You use other dependencies. So AWS have a development kit that can be integrated inside of your code base, and then from inside the code, your application can from the application communication can be made. Well, you still need to authenticate one way or the other, just the way we authenticated using access key and the secret access key from the CLI, and our username and password from the console. Some form of credentials need to be used to authenticate with AWS. Yeah, so there is, I think AWS have this Chime service now, which an application that I deployed was taken advantage of. So we had to create a separate instance now, a Chime instance now that communicates with the Chime service in AWS. Then you have to generate a secret key, access key that is being used alongside that Chime application. Yeah, and then inside of that application still communicates with another application. Architectures can be very, very interesting. Yeah, I hope I'll be able to walk you guys through, drawing coming up.
Is Virtual Studio an example of SDK?
What'd you say?
Is Virtual Studio like an example of SDK? Like, what's an example of SDK?
Yeah, I think you're signing as people, so I can. This echoing.
Oh, sorry.
Users.
My internet is lagging, so that's what I'm using. Like, so I said, is Virtual Studio an example of an SDK?
No, Virtual Studio is an IDE.
Okay.
Yeah, so you use it to write code.
Commands.
SDK is more of you can liken it to, say, framework now. I don't know if you have heard that word. So you basically use it as a dependency inside of your application. So like say npm now. So if you are developing node applications, you can have I don't want to complicate these things, but it's basically a a set of say APIs now that you can use inside of your application, already generated code kind of now that you can use inside of your application that you can interact with instead of having
like you can just easily call instead of just typing the full command. You just type and gives. Oh, okay. Now I get you. I was kind of a bit confused there. Thank you.
So is the access key something that is going to incur charges?
No.
Because okay, good. Because because some of these services that if we don't know which one would incur cost, we just So okay,
it's enough to be scared. The AWS is every opportunity they want to take money from you. So no, access key, just like your username and password again. They should not charge you for your username and password. It's just a way to authenticate. Yeah. All right. Are there any other questions around this? I hope the 3 ways to interact with AWS is quite clear, because depending on what you will be doing, you'll be using, either of this or the first two. For the SDK is mostly developers that will be using that as part of their development activity. Yeah. The console is most used, and then the CLI is again, I think that is more is used when you are writing infrastructure as code. Say you are using you want to use Terraform to provision infrastructure now. Yeah, you use the CLI, you have CLI access key and all of that you're going to use in authenticating. Yeah. Ordinarily from this, again, you use from your terminal maybe to do very little things. If you want to use the terminal to provision again an EC2 instance, the number of your commands would span multiple lines, or because you need to, add so many flags and what have you to it, yeah, to be able to achieve that provisioning, yeah, from the CLI. All right.
All right, see you later, Bryson. Go take a nap.
Okay, that's not for me. All right, so Cloud Trail. I will propose that we take our ergonomic break now, and then when we resume, we'll jump on Cloud Trail. Is that fine, guys?
Yes, it is. Sorry, guys. I was on mute when I was talking to
How many minutes? 10 minutes.
10 minutes. Yes. 10 minutes. So we'll be back by 8:40. So whatever. Hi guys. Welcome back. It looks like we spent 1 extra minute. Are you guys back, or you should take 1 more minute? All right. We make it easier for you. I said we wanted to look at another AWS service, which again is part of kind of from a management standpoint. So that is the AWS Cloud Trail from for every AWS service now. Let me use S3 to demonstrate this. That's why I said it's always a good thing to use this search bar to actually search for whatever service you have. So after you search for it, you get this results page that gives you all that you probably need. So if you want to get more kind of resource onto this whatever service now. So for the S3 service, for instance, you first get a very descriptive or like an overview of that service, what it does. For S3 is a scalable storage in the cloud. Albeit, if you want more understanding, um, from here, you can see you have features. You want to see um, different features that that particular service offers, and then documentation on the. Like I said, you will be reading a lot of documentation. Yeah, because things are ever changing. And so maybe the way you have been doing provisioning a particular service now, you tried it and then it did not work. I think the first point of call is you want to come to, consult the AWS, documentation. And once you set for that, any service now, you always have, a documentation pane here. And then you have articles regarding that particular service. If there are new updates, new features, to the service, you get all of those also from here. And then you have the marketplace also. So for third-party organizations that use that particular service now, and then they have it up their, their kind of marketing it. So they have out of the box solutions that use that service. You have those in the marketplace here, and then there are blogs also, events regarding that service, everything that you want. Even if you want tutorials on, different parts of that service, you have that in here. So this is always a good, go-to for every AWS service. So, before consulting any other book, I think this is the first place you want to come to. And then even though it can get kind of overwhelming, but if you want up-to-date kind of information regarding any service, yeah, I think this is always a good place. Yeah, I wanted to just put that out there while yeah. So for AWS CloudTrail is a service that records API calls to your account, and then and delivers it as a log file. So we have all of the activities going on in your account. CloudTrail actually, out of the box by default, it is enabled by default for every AWS account. So if you need visibility as to the identity of who is doing what, or at what time, especially, if you have different applications, making API calls to the AWS account, this would come in very, very handy. I know log files, managing log files can be a handful, but it's one of those things that you would need to get familiar with. You will be combing through tons of log files, over and over again. Albeit there are third-party tools that can be used to help analyze, and then gain visibility onto all of this. But CloudTrail now again identifies that's the API time. There are timestamps on it. So let me just all of this stock. And API calls also include, those activities around even the management console, and not just, say, from SDK or from the CLI now. Yeah. So even logs calls from even other AWS services. Say you used CloudFormation to provision infrastructure now. You get information about all of those. So these, if I click on view full events now, so all of these are the activities that has happened today. And buyers cases from July, August. So even to the username of the you of the caller of whoever it is that is doing anything. Yeah, so you have all of those in here, the event time, event name, resource that was actually communicated or interacted with, and all of this information. So you have all of this out of the box, albeit this is only available for 90 days. Yeah, events history show you the last 90 days of management events, and most organizations actually say data is very, very for auditing purposes. Excuse me. You want to, in a way, have kind of a persistent version of all of this event history now. So, sorry, excuse me. Yeah, so what AWS offers is you can actually persist all of this activities, or you can kind of channel it into another AWS service. Yeah, can all of these logs now, you can have it saved inside of another AWS service, an S3, so that you have much more history of events happening inside of your AWS accounts. Most organizations will actually want to have that, even though they may not even have to use it, but they just want to know, okay, yes, for audit purpose. Yeah. To actually accomplish this, there is a trail. You create a trail. Yeah, so a trail would create a trail that would take all of the events that is happening on your AWS account, and then it would, persist them inside of an S3 bucket. S3 bucket is the S3 is another service in AWS is and object storage. Would talk about different storages very, very soon. So the S3 holds unstructured data. Yeah, so it can hold both structured and unstructured data anyways, but it's mostly, again, used to hold unstructured data. Yeah, and holds them as objects. Yeah, so I will just create a trail here now. I'm going to call it mobile trail. And I can either, and this would be like this would occur over and over again. So like I said, AWS services do not work in isolation. Can't just have an AWS service. So AWS, they've made it kind of easy for while you're trying to use one service that actually depends on another service. Just like we have, say you want to install a package now on your Linux machine, yeah, and then that package actually has dependent packages, so inside of one command, all of the dependence is also pulled in. So this is also baked into the use case in AWS for most of the services. So while you are trying to maybe enable or provision a particular service, any service that is required, by that service also, you would get the option to either create it while you're creating that service, or or if you have that's already an existing version of that service, you can decide to use the existing one. So because I said S3 is like the preferred place, and this is again because of um, the nature logs usually, comes in streams, and then you need a form of storage service that is both flexible and affordable. The S3 service storage is actually I want to say one of the cheapest AWS services, but I say that with uh, carefulness. There's no service that's actually the cheapest. You pay for everything, but you with the S3 you can have the more you have stored, the less you pay. Yeah, it has a very very interesting pricing model. Yeah, so and so if your log files actually grow into petabyte or whatever, you won't be really spending too much. Albeit you'll still be spending now because but yeah. And so the S3 is the preferred storage for logs. Yeah. So I think it was last week I had to um, set up a central login um, account for multiple AWS accounts. So instead of having to, so say for your CloudTrail now, instead of just storing, so the organizations that have multiple AWS accounts now, so instead of, and then they want to have a centralized place or managing logs on all of those accounts. So you can set up, say 3 accounts now, you can set up 2 of the accounts to just be putting all of their logs inside one. That's, we call it a central login account. Again, this is if you will be integrating a third party, say, observability tool now. So you can have just one central place, and then your 2 other accounts are in a way shielded from any form of interaction with any other third party. So it was very interesting setup. Yeah, so by default, again, this is enabled, and then we're just going to allow AWS setup, CloudTrail set up the bucket. And again, this is because of the permissions that if you decide to set up your own buckets now, you'd need to give CloudTrail the right permission to be able to write to that bucket. But if CloudTrail sets up the bucket for you, as part of this trail creation, automatically the permission to write to that bucket would be gotten already. So I think it's always good practice. So many services like that if you decide you want to customize, that's whatever dependent service, you discover that it's going to lead to so many extra work. So I'm just going to allow CloudTrail create this bucket. Encryption, well, this again would vary from organization to organization. No. Another trail name is set up. No, so what the trail would mean is that so CloudTrail out of the by default only logs activities for 90 days. So the trail we are creating now is so that that 90 days is extended. Yeah. So after 90, if you come to your trail, you only see activities up to 90 days, but the move play it out. So if, before that, the former days now are truncated from CloudTrail. It would have been kind of streamed now and stored inside of S3 bucket. So if you want, access to logs that extend beyond 90 days. Instead of coming to CloudTrail, you would have that already stored. Obviously you can't get it in CloudTrail because that would have been, discarded, and then you only have visibility to the current, 90 days, where as back as you can only search as back as 90 days on the CloudTrail portal. Yeah. So I won't be enabling encryption, because it means you have to either again generate a KMS key, which is another service that I know it's not very, very cheap. So I won't be enabling KMS. But for organizations, again, encrypting and decrypting log files would be determined by organizational policies. I, for one, don't think it makes any sense, but depending on the kind of log file, anyways. Log file validation, yeah, let's run it, did it. You can decide that you want to send notification upon the streaming. I think this would kind of add, because SNS is another service, simple notification service. You use it to send kind of notifications. Yeah, mostly used by. So if you have a decoupled kind of microservice application, and then you want those applications to communicate amongst themselves, SNS allows for communication amongst different AWS services. We will be seeing it also in a bit. So CloudWatch logs, this is optional. CloudWatch is another service that we would just talk about briefly. You also use it to monitor your infrastructure, kind of. Yeah, you use it to not just your infrastructure now, applications also. It's an application in an infrastructural monitoring tool. You can send CloudTrail logs to CloudWatch also, and you can use to generate dashboard and what have you. Or in this use case, we only want API calls to be persisted. If we want to deal with CloudWatch, we go to CloudWatch and deal with CloudWatch. So right now, I just want management logs. Log the resource.
Upon enabling CloudWatch, you're being charged for that service, right? I know that.
So for the service, no, but for data transfer,
Okay.
yes, you usually. So even this CloudTrail now, so after creating it, this again, I was thinking about it just last week, that it doesn't make sense. I'm sending logs from CloudTrail to S3 now, and AWS would route that traffic through the internet. And so they charge you for all of that data transfer from a service within your own AWS account. I don't know why they send traffic from one service to the other through the internet. So it doesn't make plenty sense. Yeah. So, and you'll see, for when you use most of these free services that are supposed to be free in quotes now, yeah, they tell you the service itself, you don't pay for it. Again, this comes out of the box. But if you're now creating, say this trail now to log, to persist data now, yeah, from here to S3, it will charge you. So if you want to now send logs from CloudTrail to CloudWatch also, you will be billed for data transfer. CloudWatch as a service is free, yeah, because if you spin up EC2 instance out of the box also, CloudWatch has some default metrics now that it's monitors for every EC2 instance, so you don't pay for all of those. But if you now want, say you want detailed monitoring, yeah, or you want to add more metrics to that, you depending on how much of data is being sent from those resources to CloudWatch, you get billed. Yeah, data transfer is something that one needs to be very, very cognizant of, when you, especially when different services communicate amongst themselves. Yeah. So I'm just going to log management events. If I log this remaining two, like I said, the more events that I'm logging, the more I'll be paying for data transfer to S3. So I want to kind of reduce. Ordinarily, after this, I will delete this trail because even though the bill will be very little with this minimal settings that I'm using, it's still going to be there. I don't like paying for necessary things. Yeah. So I will go ahead and
So this is a region specific service,
yes,
right?
is region specific. So for every service that if you want to know it's a service that is region specific, once you are in that service, you will, if you see a region here, it means it's region specific. But for region services that are not region specific, say IAM now, if I come to IAM, you would see global icon there. So it means anything you're doing here cuts across all of your
accounts.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So that means if you're setting a cloud tray or CloudWatch, you need to set it for every region that you have.
Every region, yes.
Jesus Christ.
That works. But to calm down, you can automate it. That's the beauty of it. You can. So if you have multiple.
But even automating it, you still get charged for data transfer when you
yeah, definitely. Yeah, you will. You will.
Because I know that Microsoft don't charge you for like using the log activity and all of those on the data transfer. But at the same time, all of your data you can still monitor them using from every region. Wherever you are.
What we're doing now, ordinarily, CloudTrail, like I said, it comes out of this free out of the box. Yeah. But now we are the one that want to add extra functionality. We want to kind of keep more records. So yeah, with extra power comes extra cost. Yeah. For this event type, I think for this so for data events, operation performed within a certain resource, say let me take RDS for instance now, when you create a database, when probably you stop the database and all of the activities that is happening inside of that particular RDS service now would also be logged. So this now, if you have these data events logged on, all of the different services that you're running, if you even for your S3 service now, RDS, all of the services, it would aggregate, it would be pulling logs from those different services. It will come to CloudTrail and then it will persist them to your S3 bucket. Also, the insight events, again, this would kind of unusual activities around. So wherever there are errors inside, maybe somebody tries to log in now and they put in the wrong password, or say your S3, your EC2 instance is trying to it fails a status check. All of those unusual activities would also be logged. Yeah. So yeah, I hope these are just the different types of events for management events. Again, these are logged in, who assessed what service, but it does not now go into those services. If you want more visibility into what is happening in individual services, you have events, the data events checked in that. Yeah, so I'm going to create this trail. And we have that automatically started login. So if I come to my S3 service here now, I should have a CloudTrail bucket already created. So I see that I have, and this was the name that CloudTrail, what we were setting up, said, so it was created today. And if I come in here, I see that I have AWS logs. That's not started pulling anything in here for now. But if we give it a few minutes, I'm sure logs will start coming in. Yeah. All right. I hope this was straightforward. Yeah. Moving on to, like I said, this I always advise that you guys this is just knowledge of say you are conversing maybe probably with an hiring manager, and then they're asking you how can you persist and keep this thing for training purpose. I think you want to go ahead and probably delete this because all your activities for the next 90 days will still, if you want visibility into it, you can still get it from CloudTrail. Yeah. And then, yeah, it's just you that's probably using the account. And so you won't be logging too much things, but so that, you don't, any service that would, incur any form of charge, I would always mention it so that you don't, again, like paying for necessary things. Yeah, so I'm going to empty this first before deleting it. All right. I said, okay, also, aside the fact that you can always come to your billing and costs management to see what you are spending in AWS, you can always also set up kind of alarms. Yeah. So only have one account set up here. So you can always set up kind of billing alerts. Yeah. Especially while you are still learning now, so that you don't, overspend. You don't just, even if you forget to terminate an instance once that's your bill goes beyond a certain threshold, you can create an alarm that would alert you that, okay, yes, you have something running, and then you can quickly come down here. If you don't know exactly where the service is, you can come here and then view and look at, that service. Say, okay, yes, I see that an unnecessary bill is in my VPC. What am I spending here that is unnecessary? So AWS has started charging for IP version 4 now. So for every resource that is using an IP version 4, you get billed for it. Okay, so yeah, that's safe. So to set up an alarm, use CloudWatch to actually do that. Follow me, your hands out. If you are speaking, I can't hear you. Can anybody hear Palumi, or is it just me?
Hello, can you hear me now?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't know I was muted. Sorry. I guess you have to be root to be able to view the billing, right? Yeah, you have to be.
Ordinarily, yes, but there was a setting I did. I don't know. Maybe you, uh, there there is an option that was enabled to allow administrators view billing.
Oh, okay.
I think
I stepped off for a bit, so I missed a bunch
Oh,
of some of the things that you discussed. So, but I have plans to watch the video and catch up.
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Yeah. Okay. Did you try visiting the billing and cost management and from your IMU side?
Yeah, I did. So I'm not. It was just saying data not available.
Yes. Yeah, I think I showed that. So yeah, by the time you review the video, you'll be able to fix that.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Okay. CloudWatch. I was going to. So I'm going to. So again, CloudWatch is a monitoring and management service. Yeah. Yeah. So anybody can actually use it, but usually SREs are the ones that use it to gain observability into different AWS services. It's CloudWatch provides both data, so there are different things that is being monitored or observed, using CloudWatch, or you can get logs, logs from, application logs and what have you, metrics from um, um, infrastructure. Now you have traces also, and also events. Events usually comes from other. So you want to monitor, track events that are happening in other AWS services, and then you want to have them, monitored in here. You have quite a lot that you can actually do with CloudWatch. If you want to get insight to your applications, again, like I said, and understand and respond to performance changes, in your infrastructure. Also, if you want to kind of optimize uh, resource utilization, see and view operational health of your different AWS services, especially those that have compute underlining your PaaS kind of services. Yeah, so CloudWatch collects and then all forms of logs, events from all of those services, and then you can have a unified view. Create even dashboards, out of those metrics. But again, we don't have any service running now, so there's nothing to monitor. And I'm sure you see, why then are we here? Sorry. No, I don't know. We can also use CloudWatch to kind of create alarms. Yeah. So we have alarms also in here. Can use CloudWatch to create alarms. So like I said, there are some features, yeah, in AWS that is there are some services that are available to some regions and they are not available to some other regions. I mentioned this earlier. So the way this is showing here now, let me quickly see if I can demonstrate this. What did I change region? Oh, okay, sorry. I am using. So I couldn't change region because this is a global service. So it's telling you, why do you want to? Let me switch to, say, well, so I don't know if you guys already noticed what I was saying. So it's the same service, but for the US Eastern region, I have a billing alarm in here that can be created. But for my Ohio US East 2, there is no billing alarm. Yeah, so and you would see this over and over for different services. You are trying to set up, say, an RDS instance now in US East 1, and then you have different set of I call them mini services now, yeah, on the side, and then you're trying to replicate the same thing in, say, the London region, and then you have a different set of mini services that can actually be very, very confusing. So all of this again would build experience around your use case. So I was just wanted to point that out as I'm going to set up a billing alarm for my North Virginia region, because I think that's where I will be provisioning most of the resources that we'll be using for this training, because it has, it's a much larger region compared to any other region, I think. With the North Virginia region, I'm sure that every feature that I want is available. Let's see if North California actually has. Pardon?
Hold on, 1 minute.
Yeah, breaking.
It's better to use like a region you are closer to due to avoid latency.
Yes,
Like,
if you are deploying applications, yeah. If you
yeah.
have somewhere close to your end users, yeah, like you said, but for this training, everything will be deploying. It's not I'm not having end users access it, so latency is not going to be a problem, yeah, for us. So I'm just going to come here and then. So if I provision an instance in EC2 and then one in, say, London now, if I'm going to SSH into it, latency would not be factored into it at all.
Regions, I understand, like sometimes region comes with like different pricing models. Like
Yes,
some regions
also,
pricing are more expensive than other pricing models.
that's correct.
So which of the region in like AWS will you say like is more like, because I know for Microsoft, which of the region in AWS you say that is much more cheaper? So as we are deploying, we can make use of those regions, not to accumulate much cost upon deployment of resources.
The price difference, if you do a comparison, is very, very, I want to say negligible. It's not is in the sense. So I can't really say a region is cheaper than another. Again, it all depends on so on your use case and then what you are trying to achieve. But for this training, I think everything that you'll be doing, your free tier should still cover it. So
Thank you.
So I want to create a billing alarm for this, so I don't want to overspend for this also, I think you can create an alarm. It's just that it's going to be quite different now. The way you go about it, you have to do some extra work. Usage now is what we want to get here. My resource. Again, this just kind of gives you extra. You have to kind of do extra work, but for this now, all I need to do is create a billing alarm, and there's so many of the things that I would have done here by checking this, all of this, one after the other, and then select the metric, and then I come here and start. Yeah, it's not fair though. Yeah, so with this, immediately I set up the billing. It already, it has a namespace already, and then it's giving me a name, obviously, and currency also. And then condition threshold is I want if my billing goes greater than or equals to, let me just be generous and say if I spend more than $10, please, if the bill for 6 hours goes, is staying above $10, please um, um, alert me. Yeah, send me an alarm. Send a message to me. So, like I mentioned, SNS earlier, you use it to notification service. Basically, it uses a subscribe publisher kind of model. Yeah, there are so many use cases to using SNS. You can use it to send out notification to end users, SMS, email, even push notification also. So I'll be configuring it to send an email to I'm using the North Virginia region that gives me an out-of-the-box billing for all of my services now. Yeah, but for other regions now that does not have the billing alarm, you would have to individually now select okay, the services that you want. This is plenty of work that, if you want for each of the different AWS services, yeah. And then if it's logs that you want, I don't know, across all rules. This again would require extra work in setting up for all of the resources, which this has abstracted away from us. That's why I will be choosing this, because I do not like work. Yeah. So I will be creating a new topic, and I'm just going to call this, should I call this? Billing alert. And then where I want, well, the endpoint now, because email is what we're choosing. So I'm just going to spell that's right. Yes, spell right. gmail.com. And I'm going to create a topic. So an SNS topic has been created. I will leave every other thing as is. I'm going to just call this billing alarm. Description, just add alarm to monitor estimated AWS charges. And this is descriptive enough. And I will create this. Everything looks good. And then creating this. All right, saying states inefficient. Okay, so some subscription are pending confirmation. SNS doesn't send messages to an endpoint until subscription is confirmed. So let's view the SNS service now. Yeah, like I mentioned, SNS is a uses a publisher subscriber kind of model. So that endpoint that I sent, SNS would send a confirmatory an email to be sure that this person actually is up for it or will subscribe to this. So if I bring up this Gmail and I hit a refresh, I can see that I have an email from AWS now saying, you just subscribed to a topic. Are you sure you want to start receiving messages? So if you do not confirm this subscription, messages will not, when your alarm, hits, you will not get, any form of notification. Yeah. So also while we're here, the settings were enabled when I said you get a PDF version of your bill. So this is what you will get. Ordinarily, you would not get, you just get a statement, just tell you your statement is available. But with this now, you get a proper PDF of your AWS bill. All right, so if fortunately, there's no fresh button in this place. Let me come back to topics. Subscription. Now this has been confirmed. And when my bill goes above $10, I should, well, for this particular region, that is, I should get a confirmation, a notification that the bill has gone up.
I have like a question in regards to the regions and all of that, because it makes it so complicated. You were saying something about automation that makes it easier to replicate most of these actions for other regions you have resources. So on this cloud course that we're doing for now, are you going to cover the automation part? Because it makes the whole process like so strenuous. We have to go at replicating for like different. I know it's just like a trial. We're not going to use like most of this stuff, but it's just
we have
on.
there is a service, an AWS proprietary automation infrastructure as code service now. So if you want to say create you want to automate the creation of or provisioning of infrastructure. Yeah, so CloudFormation is an infrastructure as code tool. Cloud, AWS proprietary. We have other ones here. This will let you automate the creation of different services, although it is region specific also. So if I want to automate the creation of, say, CloudTrail Trail now, yeah, I can automate that in here, but I can go a step further. AWS, they provided what we call stack sets now. You can use stack sets to now say you want to create, you want to automate creating resources across different regions. You can use stack set, but it is an advanced feature of CloudFormation. We'll talk about CloudFormation now, but say if we want to now talk about cloud sets, stack sets, I don't think it would be beneficial now. Yeah, you would need extra knowledge about some other things to be able to do this. But if you can use CloudFormation to automate provisioning across regions. That's stack sets is a feature of CloudFormation. Yeah, if need, I can run through, if time would permit us, we'll run through maybe a small demo on how to use it to automate creating trails across different regions. Again, I won't want us to go into advanced things that would cost you guys. Yeah, so if you're using Stacksets, it will definitely, run multiple. It will cost it because you'll be using quite a number of services together, and that would attract cost one way or the other. Yeah. CloudWatch to monitor a CI/CD pipeline. Yes, you can, but depending on the CI/CD tool that you are using, if you are using code pipeline now, AWS code pipeline, you can actually use CloudWatch to monitor that, CI/CD tool, or say you're using Jenkins now, which is a third-party CI/CD tool. You can use it, but it will require extra configuration on both the AWS side, and again, it's hinged around so many things. Yeah, so let us look at all of that just yet. Okay, what next? Are there any other questions before I move on to? I think we have set up our AWS properly. We've touched on a few services on the surface. Now we'll be touching on all of these services bit by bit. We'll be building on all of the things that we are learning here right now. I think I am expecting that you guys will have questions around the IAM service, but it looks like you guys have already probably been introduced to that before, or you guys have already gone to study ahead. So I'll probably give you guys, I'll test you guys on your knowledge on this. Again, it's quite similar to, for those that understand or understood the user management in permissions also in Linux. Well, it's almost the same thing. It's just that now you are administering this on a much, would I say, higher plane. Yeah, administering different principals and giving permissions on a resource base. Yeah. All right. So we'll just jump into the final deploying and bootstrapping. So bootstrapping basically means launching, well, including commands. When launching your machine. Yeah, so say let's just come to our basic test. I'm just quickly going to this is not what I want. Let's launch an instance. And that's Virginia. I'm going to call this bootstrap. I'm going to make it as simple as possible because I do not want to connect to this, so I don't need a. I'm going to add just add HTTP to this. So if I come to, there is an advanced details option here. We'll still talk about some of these things, in details later. So we have this user data option here. In this place, we can paste in a bash script that would be executed, as part of provisioning this instance. So I have a bash script already here that I'm going to use as part of this. I'm sure we are all familiar with, all of this, using the wget to pull in a code base from my from a GitHub repository and then copying it into enabling, installing HTTPD. Is there anybody that does not understand this before I move on? This script, that is. I don't want to believe that. All right, cool. So once this instance is being provisioned, automatically it would run all of this as part of the provisioning of the instance. So I'm just going to launch this. And this would take a minute to, I already have an IP address already, but this would take a bit longer than if you were just spinning up, an instance. This again would, after spinning up, it would go into the instance on your behalf, and then where are you coming? Here we go. I'm just going to copy this. Bootstrap is very, very straightforward. Again, this is not done running all of the commands because he has to install the web server and then all of those things that he has to do. Anyways, I was looking for something here. For an option now, I can't. Yeah, there is. You can actually edit the user data. Okay, you can actually edit it. So he has to install all of this. It will run the update first. So this will take a minute. I think this is almost done. Still initializing. And just hit the reload here because I'm a very impatient person. So I think this is my network now that is misbehaving because this should be up and running by now. So it is past. Okay. All things being equal, this should network is doing push. Okay. So it's actually very, very sluggish. Can I paste this in the chats for somebody to confirm what they see? Maybe it's just me that cannot see this. All right, so
I can see
Do you need to add the HTTPS to
no,
the URL?
No. It's not necessary. So
Hello.
just copied it from the it's just the IP address is fine. HTTPS is not enabled. If you add HTTPS, it will probably throw an error.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Hello. Yeah, I said it's loading on my hand here. I can
Yes.
see
Yes.
Jupyter.
So I think it's up on my end also. So even without having to go into the instance, you can actually customize, your application already, or do a bunch of things prior to
It's not
starting.
loading on my own end though.
We just deployed this front end and that's it.
I didn't get that, Angela.
I said the bash script that you
Yes.
imputed running
So I
of
have
the instance, you deployed the front end straight up.
directly, yes. Just pulled it pulled in the code base from so let me just bring the user data up. So it pulled in the code base from this repository.
This okay.
Zipped it and then copied it inside of the HTML directory. I think we actually did some. So we did exactly something like this during the bash script session. Yeah, albeit we pulled in from.
Why did you remove the zip file
This is
again?
just to clear, just just clearing the zip file. It's not necessary. Just. Yeah. So with this, you can actually do anything instead of having to SSH into your machine.
Let's start the deployment one after the other.
Yes. So this, in a way, kind of saves you having to, run.
That's it.
Yeah. So and if you need to actually say you want to create multiple instances now that has kind of a specific set of say packages auto-installed. Yeah, you can also use this. Just put everything inside of a script and then provision this, and then you can use time is in a way kind of automating provisioning of scripting, yeah, if you want to put it.
But it's slow to load and it's not even coming up. It's just rolling on my end. But why is it like that?
Maybe
Is your network.
If you take out the HTTP,
Yeah,
just take
yes,
out the HTTP, just put only the IP address.
Pasting the IP address. Yes, exactly. Yes.
Let me try that.
HTTPS will not actually work. I don't know why it copied with HTTPS. Yeah.
Okay, it's working now.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
The folder I pulled the image in. No, yeah, it copied into www something.
It's in the www
Yes.
folder in this server. So I don't. Outford, do you have access to Moyo's instance?
Yeah,
I mean,
that was scary.
yeah, but I mean, if you don't have access to that instance, because I think what I see here, please correct me if I'm wrong, Moyo. So you have the zip file in your main.zip in your GitHub, right?
Yes, yeah.
And then he just downloaded it and put it in your server.
Yeah.
Your HTML in the HTML folder, and then that's where it's running from. Yes.
Yes.
So Outford, you don't. Hold on a second. Yeah. So yeah, there's no way you can see it, Outford.
I think it's trying to say it wants to see what directory the image into.
Something we did the other day on Linux, whereby
exactly
just a particular folder, all the images and the rest, same as using your WAMP or your XAMPP on your local system server and all.
Yes.
And they were trying to find I didn't see the folder he put the image into before now.
So it downloaded.
It's downloaded from your GitHub, right?
GitHub, yeah. Into
yes. What do you not pull into it to yeah.
Yeah, so it will download as a main.zip and it will extract, even though it's inside the HTML directory, it will extract as maybe a main dot whatever now. So we have this Jupyter main as a directory inside of this main file now, that or directory that gets pulled in, and then it's just copying everything that is inside of this Jupyter main directory inside, just kind of re-extracting inside of the same directory. These are just basic.
Is that repository? Is it public?
Public? Yes, it is public.
Okay.
Yeah, I can paste the scripts in the chat for you guys, for those that.
Yes, please do. I'd like to try this out later.
All right. All right. It's in
Hold on. Sorry. This Jupyter-main is from
that's the folder.
Is from the is from when you unzip the main.zip, right?
Yes.
So
yes.
you now said after it has unzipped the main.zip, you now said you should copy. You should copy this part, like whatever is in this part, to copy it into this HTML side.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then delete. You said you should delete the Jupyter. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I see that. Okay, I get it.
Yep.
Again, if you can actually do this on your local machine, just paste this in your browser to download.
To download, yeah. That was what I was asking, if it was public.
It's public. To download it locally, and then you can.
So we can.
Around.
We can. It doesn't I would like you to give us an assignment where we would do this and maybe submit IP. Maybe we can find. I know we all have colleagues. No, chill now.
Then you want to set us up.
Hold on. It will cost us to pay. This one will be incur payments, right?
Oh, shit. Your instance is running now, so maybe if you terminate it immediately, immediately you finish it, I will make sure I terminate. Even though it's a very small instance, yeah. And yeah, I'm not sure if AWS is still giving that free tier. I think they still do though, but they were saying they are discontinuing free tier at some point. So okay, still free tier. It's still free tier. So if you just created your account, you can, but again, there's still so much provisioning we'll be doing for the next till the DevOps module, you will be provisioning different instances, and then you want to save all of that, your free credits till then. Now we can still afford to do microservices. Yeah. Yes. If you so there will the time for assignments would come. In fact, I will definitely send you something this night on Discord that you guys can use in practicing understanding IAM even better, because IAM can gets a bit tricky, especially when you have multiple users that you have to create and then administer, give different permissions to them. Yeah, so I have a mini assignment that you guys can actually use in practicing that one, which I think would make more sense, so you can have more understanding of how to administer users from IAM. Yeah,
I feel instead of when you have multiple users, in the case that you have multiple users, instead of isolating the roles that you're giving each of those users, I believe the best way to do it is just have a group.
Exactly.
Have a group for a particular role. So if peradventure a user should I say infringe, or they are pouring into another role, a user can have access to 2 or 3 groups depending on the kind of role the person is performing in the organization. Okay, let's say your CTO now. Your CTO will have access to every or if not all groups. If they are creating groups in a particular IAM account, your CTO of your organization will have access to everything. You understand? So now for a developer, your developer will have a particular IAM belong in a particular group, I don't know. See, I think I'm sure
if you are going
you
to
understand what I'm
administer
trying to say.
yes, if you are going to administer multiple users, it's always
Yeah.
better to put them in groups. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so this is where we'll be drawing the curtain for today's session. If there are any other questions, I'm open to take them. If not, you guys should have a great week. Or should I wait a minute?
Please wait a minute. Please wait a minute.
Okay.
So when you were creating that instance, the Bootstrap instance, can you please just walk through that process again? So because I copied the bash script.
So
okay.
if you come to the
you left
bottom,
everything as default, right?
everything as default, but you need to make sure you have allow HTTP in there. Yes, else the security group that will be created will not have port 80 opened. Yeah, and then to get the user data, you need to expand the advanced details.
But you can also use existing security group that has
yes. If you have a security group, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I did that, but let me see, edit inbound rule. If I add a rule, HTTP. I know we've done this before. B000. Then let me save the rule. Okay. Yeah, that worked.
That should work. Yeah.
That was the problem. All right. Yeah. I didn't allow the
port 80.
The port 80, yes.
All right, guys.
I'm gonna go ahead and delete it right now before I start incurring
Taiwo, I did not hear your voice throughout. Kingsley Obi, I think this is the first time I'll be seeing you in this session.
I'm here. That's just chilling. I'll watch the video. It's okay.
Oh, okay. All right, guys. Thank you for your time. Have a great week.
Thank you. Good night.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.